A lot of people have been asking me to show them how I use the lone wolf tree stand with the sticks as a mobile setup. In order to show it effectively, I'm going to show how I set up the tree stand by a bedding area with an actual bedding area. Across this marsh, there's a buck bed where a buck bed's just behind those muskrat dens in the cattails, which are kind of pushed down now because of the snow. And the stage is just inside those trees and moves on out. In order to get there without spooking the buck, we'd have to go around this way and sneak into relatively close and set up, probably within 50, 60 yards. So we're going to do that and show you exactly how we do it without making noise and mobily with this tree stand. So come on, let's go. Okay. Right here is where the buck beds when he's bedding in here. Now obviously the cattails are higher in here at that time of the year, but not a whole lot higher. And he's generally gonna be getting a wind from back here, coming in like this, and smelling what's going on. And right now, the wind's blowing in from over here. And we're gonna set up on this buck just as if, you know, this is how it is. It's the wind is coming from this way, that's how we're gonna set up. You have to set up upwind because this buck is not gonna bed here when the wind's blowing from that way, because he won't be able to smell something sneak up on him. So what we're going to do with the wind coming this way, we're going to set up over here. When he walks out over here, have him within that 20-yard range and shoot him. So we're playing the wind a little bit. And if the wind gets too shifty, you know, instead of our wind drifting off over there, he could bust us. But you got to kind of play that game in order to kill a few of these bucks, because they're not going to be bedded here on the correct wind for a hunter. What I would do now is get down into bed, you know, say I was scouting, and try to see, you know, imagine the grass being just a little bit higher. If the buck's laying right here, what's he going to see? He can see just inside that red brush, or the dogwood, and maybe a little further. He can probably see 25, 30 yards in the wintertime. And when it was green out, you probably can just see to that edge, if that. So that tells me I can push the limits a little further when it's green out. But it's really key for me to know exactly where this bed is and kind of line it up with these trees and stuff, so that when I'm hunting here, I know exactly where I can let my wind blow and where it can't blow. Okay, now you're seeing just what the buck sees from the bed, from his head height from that camera. Okay, so when the buck gets up from this bed, the trail is going in here. We'd be able to see it a lot better if it wasn't covered with snow. We're actually out here a little earlier for scouting. So the buck's coming out here, following this trail. He's walking through here. When he first gets up in the evening, down over here, he's going to start browsing. They love this dogwood, red brush. And you see how all the ends of these branches were bitten off last year? So you see how these were bitten off. That's from the deer coming through here browsing. You can kind of see the deer trail because they still come through here a little bit. You see the little broken branches where they're pulling them down when they're eating them. They love the stage on this dogwood. So to get up, they come into here, and they're not going to go much further in light. They'll get up an hour, 2 hours before dark, is what I see. But they get into this stuff, and they stay right around here till dark. So the only way to kill the mature ones that aren't moving past this range in the dark is to set up right in here. So we get just out of sight range from that bed and set up a stand. And the wind's blowing like this, right here. So if we set up over there, we're actually blowing past the buck. All right, we're about 50 yards or 100 yards from the buck bedding area, which is over here. We got to get 50 yards in front of it, which is over here. So it's at about this point where we'd start sneaking in and being real quiet so that the buck doesn't hear us. I mean, we can get here relatively easy in the grass and stuff. There's snow in here, and the snow's going to be a little louder than what you really like. But you can be quiet in that too if you try hard enough. But we really got to sneak in here so that buck doesn't hear us. So let's sneak in there. The key is slow, precise movements. Watching where you're going to step. Watching that stuff ain't going to grab your tree stand. And if you'd happen to say, accidentally, make some noise like that, freeze. Don't move. Don't make no sound for a couple minutes. And the reason being is that if he heard you and he looks your way, if there is a way for him to see movement, he's going to spot you because he's going to be locked on it. But sounds happen in the woods all day long, squirrels and stuff. So he'll settle back down and go back to his thing. You just don't want to repetitively make noises right in a row. Another good trick is to wait till something's making noise, something else, like those geese you hear honking in the background, a car, a vehicle if you're near the road, whatever it might be. When something's going to make a noise, make your movements on the noisy stuff at that time. If it's a day where you got short bursts of wind gusts, move when the wind gusts. Start your trek towards your stand real early in the day, maybe noon, 1. Don't make it a race. Don't go late and have to race in there and have to push your time. Not to mention the bucks are more groggy midday, where if you get in there late, they're more alert and more likely to pick you off sneaking in. Okay, this is our tree. Our buck bed is about 60 yards that way. That buck's going to pass through right over here. So I'm going to set up in this tree and I'm going to base the buck bed so I can see him coming. I'm going to get just high enough. I'm going to watch how high I climb. I'm going to climb from the back of the tree. So the tree is blocking most of my body. So if he does catch a glimpse, it might just be a little squirrel on the side of the tree. He's not going to see my whole body moving. And I'm going to keep an eye that way. And I'm going to watch. And when I get up to a point where I can start to see into the grass where his bed is, no matter how high I am, that's where I need to set that stand. I don't want to go any higher and have him spot me up in that tree. So we got to be really quiet. I get here after walking in here. If there's snow on the ground like there is here, I think I just sit by the tree for about 5 minutes and let things cool down before I climb, in case he's looking this direction. I don't think he can see me at ground level. There's too much stuff in the way. But if I start getting up and elevated a little bit, he's going to see something. So just let it calm down. Let him think it was a squirrel going through, a possum, whatever, if he did hear something. my stand and I lay it down flat. I get down on my knee, and I'm always listening just in case. Keep my eyes open. So I got my stand bungeed together, and we'll show you how to do that in a little bit. But now when I get here, I need to take these bungees off real quietly. I just slip down and unhook each one, and carefully take it off so that it doesn't spring and make noise. I always take the bungees and I either put them right at the base of the tree or I hang them on a little stick, but I always put them in the same spot. And if you get a habit of putting them in the same spot, you won't come down in the dark and not be able to find them. So, all in the same spot. Real quiet, so we're not making any clanks. Now to keep cool and not sweat up, I put my suit on the back of the stand. I had it bungeed in. I use a coverall suit, so it's real easy to slip on without making a lot of movement and a lot of noise. Again, I'm trying to keep the tree in between me and the deer. If your suit makes a little noise or you make a little noise putting your suit on, you can stop 50 yards back and put it on. If you get to the sticks, grab both ends like this, and you pop one end up. Real quiet. Pop the other end up. I have the strap going around the bottom V, and back up to the loop and tight, so don't make any noise. I just press the button, loosen it up, slide it off, keep the buckle in my hand so it's not flopping around hitting anything. And you put the stick on, bottom step, knee high. Put your knee against it. That's one good way to remember. Strap around a tree. I always use a safety harness, but I do not use a climbing strap. And the reason is it's just too much new movement, too much noise. Probably get a little slack for that, but that's the way it is. I use the old-fashioned rule of 3 points of contact at all times. You always have 3 points of contact. You can move 1 foot or 1 hand at a time. Push her down, tighten her up. Next step. Again, the bottom of the stick, the bottom step, knee high.